try not to lose my voice. So, good morning. I was asked to talk about the foot washing, but there's another ministry I'd like to mention first, and that's sacristans. Because for me, the two ministries, foot washing and sacristans, have been relating more and more to each other, and I experienced the risen Christ in both. A couple years ago, at one of those sign up for a ministry Sundays, Liz Mills encouraged me to try sacristans, and I'm still learning it, but slowly, hopefully, getting better. It isn't always easy to fit in on a Saturday morning with a busy schedule to arrive and prepare for and set things out for the next day's Eucharist, but I'm always glad when I do because it enriches Eucharist for me on Sunday. So I'm more familiar with the sacristy and the holy things that are stored there. I'm more connected with the sights, sounds, smells, and textures of Eucharist. Washing the chalices after the community is drunk from them is a particular moment for me when Christ really feels present. But there's a place that's come to feel like a second sacristy to me, and that's the storage space where we keep the foot washing supplies. It's unit C305 at Public Storage. It's down the street behind Rite Aid. And I don't know who has been there besides me and maybe Mark Phillips, but I feel the presence of Christ as soon as I open the door. I walk in, and I can smell the foot powder immediately, and the gloves and the soap and all of those supplies that are stored there. And I think we have a lot of dedicated foot washers here who, you don't have to go to the storage space. You just hear that word foot powder, and you're immediately taken back downtown and you're washing feet again because it's such a strong, unique smell. But the foot washing events are a project that this congregation has sponsored and volunteered at for several years. It's held at the United Way Community Resource Exchanges, most recently at Seattle Center, and anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 people attend who are experiencing homelessness. They receive critical services such as legal advice, dental care, counseling, cell phone accounts, Social Security veterans services, and haircuts. So in our area, we typically serve anywhere from 180 to 400 people for providing them socks and foot care. And there's a really wide variety of people who come. They're the working poor, the addicted, disabled, those struggling with mental illness, those who are experiencing just a brief temporary setback, and the chronically homeless. So ask any foot washer here, and I'm looking out at several of them. I know everybody's got particular people that have stood out to them over the years of doing this who just touch them in a certain way. But for me, I've got several myself, but one in particular was an Ethiopian man who came and sat down. He took off his shoes and socks, and he was so dignified. I mean, he was just well-dressed, and you could see he was kind and intelligent, and he would have fit in at any boardroom in the city. I think he wouldn't have been out of place at all. But his bare feet looked like they had been through a lot, and they were really tough. And he proudly said, "These are the feet of a man who grew up without any shoes." He said he'd grown up in the desert in Ethiopia and never wore a pair of shoes until age 17. He always wanted them, but his dad said, "No, I never had them. Your grandfather never had them. And nobody in our family going back to the beginning of time has ever had shoes. And so you're not special." And he had come to the U.S. 30 years prior and worked as a cab driver ever since. But he had recently been robbed one too many times and couldn't take another day of fear. So he quit the cab driving, and after a couple years of living on savings, he chose life on the streets. And he had been on the streets for a couple years, and the street life was very difficult. So he was considering going back to cab driving soon. I wonder what he chose, or if he was able to find an alternative. But his strength and dignity in difficult circumstances were very inspiring. So why do I keep participating in these events? For me, I always go away feeling ministered to, probably much more than the other way around. I think I've heard other people say that, and Anne mentioned that too. The foot washing is emulating Jesus' simple act of foot washing, but we don't need to mention that to those who come because they tell us. It isn't uncommon at all for people to sit down and say, "Did you know that Jesus washed feet?" And it's providing something unexpected, and Jesus was always doing the unexpected. And I think that's partly what's been compelling to me, is just the fun in providing something surprising. You know, it's like throwing a surprise party. And it's communicating dignity and respect to those who feel invisible. I've had it happen a few times where I'll go down to reach and just touch somebody's feet, and they'll draw back and go, and I'll go, "Oh, did I hurt you? Are you okay?" And they'll say, "No, I'm fine. I haven't been touched in a very long time." So it brings everyone in the space down to the same level and provides a unique opportunity to sit alongside one another in companionship. When the event is over, it's time to clean up, and the cleanup and storing of the supplies back again at C305 feels very similar to taking a turn at sacristan and cleaning up after Eucharist, because the sights, smells, and textures of the supplies transcend me out of my ordinary everyday life. And it's what it invokes for me. Washing the foot washing towels at the laundromat remind me of hand washing the linens after Eucharist. The essence of the community and what we've done together becomes embedded in those materials, and the risen Christ is there in those things alongside us, in and around us, and that's really why I continue to participate in those ministries, because I want to continue to live within that light.